this? Incredible! This is
The Grove Podcast.
Hello, my name is Tabs and welcome to episode 169 of the Grove Podcast. Now, thank you for listening and I hope this pod finds you well. Now, I suspect many of you have been emotionally eating an abundance of overpriced Easter chocolate coming in all manner of shapes and sizes, trying to ease the pain of not quite yet another cup defeat, but another cup defeat as we were knocked out of the FA Cup 2-1 against Southampton at the quarter-final stage of the competition. Now, I'm not one to believe in superstitions. For me, it's all just coincidences and people trying to apply illogical patterns to variants. But since World War II, Arsenal have won 36 major trophies, but never in a year ending in 6. So that's it, folks. As a lot of you are already thinking and been saying on the socials, we are winning fuck all this year, so you'd better get used to it. And joining me today to talk through how we're going to deal with the impending doom is Andy. How are you? And are you superstitious at all?
Weirdly, actually, I am a bit superstitious for someone who doesn't kind of believe in God or divine whatever. Like, I'm a wee bit weirdly superstitious. Like, you think that like if you don't do something before a game, then it's going to have an impact on whether Martin Odegaard can score in the 25th minute when he should. But obviously, there's no correlation between the two. But yeah, certainly, again, could have done without knowing that. Perhaps because I'm going into Tuesday and certainly more going into next Saturday with a bundle of nerves that probably weren't here 3 weeks ago. So, yeah, your little factoid there has done absolutely nothing to help me out.
Well, look, I think since, was it 81? Oh, I can't remember. There was the Tottenham song, like, Spurs win whatever when the year ends in 1. So, and when was the last time they won anything? So with the year ending in 1, okay. I know last year, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so yeah, I just thought I'd add that in, just a bit of fun. And just to add to the general angst that people are feeling about last night and just about the rest of the season. And look, let's just jump straight into it. Look, in the show, we're going to look at, I think, initially bigger picture stuff. We'll then look at the Southampton game and then we'll look at Lisbon away coming up on Tuesday. So, but, thinking broader picture, and there's been a bit of discussion on the Grove WhatsApp chat, and I don't know if you've been following that on at all, but are the wheels coming off, or is it just a case that we played our B team and things just didn't go our way?
I mean, I don't think the wheels are coming off, because I don't think the wheels were ever that, like, they're not coming off. They weren't,
good luck with this analogy. Come on.
Like, they weren't ever like that securely on, if you know what I mean. Like, we've not been blowing. Like, I would get the kind of the insinuation of the wheels coming flying off if we'd been absolutely hammering teams all year, but we've not. Like, we've kind of discussed multiple times about how we play kind of 1-0 we play 3-0 football at 1-0, and we only really ever get one, maybe max 2 goal leads in the Premier League. Slightly different story in the Champions League, obviously, but. Yeah, I don't know. It's a hard one. I think when I was watching the game last night, it just felt like a complete rerun of the Mansfield game, but against a better side. Like, it was obviously the much more rotated lineup. You've got the similarity of Max kind of stealing the show a little bit, but ultimately Mansfield are a division below Southampton, and then that kind of uptick in quality it seemed to. Well, we kind of were posed with the exact same issues in both games, and it's just like we played a team with better quality last night, and they were able to kind of finish chances that Mansfield weren't, and they were able to keep us out and only keep us down to 1 goal in a way that Mansfield weren't. So, yeah, I don't think the wheels are coming off. You asked me last week or the week before about whether I trust this team. I definitely still trust them, and I'll trust them even more when the kind of pillars of Saliba, Rice, and Saka are back. But I am, like I referenced a couple of minutes ago, I'm a lot more nervous going into what's that, like that meme when he's like, I'm not nervous, I'm just getting a bit shaky. Like, I'm going into Bournemouth next Saturday, like we're flying down to the game, and I'm not looking forward to it, Tabs. I'm not going to lie, but I don't think the wheels are coming off, but I just want to get through Tuesday with no injuries, and hopefully and we can quell a bit of the nerves with a good performance on Tuesday.
Do you think, because I think it's a couple of things. I think I really like the analogy with the comparison, so we say with the Mansfield game, and look, we scored a couple of belters. We had chances to score more simpler goals, but it took a couple of belters for us to win that game. We were and in terms of open defensively, we were vulnerable to some of what Mansfield were doing, and actually they scored, I think, from a break in play and stuff like that. So again, so there's a bit of variance there, and we will get into the Southampton, the meat of the Southampton game. But yeah, so we're just taking a look bigger pitch. I mean, I think compounded with the Carabao Cup final loss. And that's the first time we've lost, twice, 2 games in a row. We've only lost 4 games this season. Okay, now we've lost 5, and we haven't lost 2 games back to back since I think it was towards the end of last season and stuff like that. So it's so I just think it's just a bit of the compound effect. And I think, look, we can't, and a bit like you say, the wheels haven't been tightly on. No, since the turn of the year, we have been inconsistent, shall we say. And I think we talked about this in the last pod and say, well, what do you expect with the injuries that we've been having and the multiple competitions and having to deal with it and not having a settled 11? It's not surprising we've been inconsistency. You've got inconsistency, but it's tough to compartmentalize. And a lot of this will be what happens towards the end of the season, what happens against Sporting, what happens against Bournemouth. Because we win those games, then this will be easily forgotten. The Carabao Cup will be forgotten. And so what I said in the group chat was, like, the final against City, it was a 50-50 final. Make no bones about it, Man City are still a good team. Okay, they've been, in a one-off game, they can be still good. And we hamstrung ourselves with our keeper selection. Not going to really litigate that. We know why he was selected. And then we had a disjointed second 11 yesterday who lost to an informed team in the cup. And the cup, so yes, we could and should have done better in both. And I'd be more concerned if it was our primary team that was playing as opposed to that. So yes, there are extra concerns. Yeah. Of course, the fans are really anxious, and I was at the game yesterday, and coming out of that stadium, towards the end of the game, and even as the players came over to thank the fans, there was a lot of emotion being expressed, shall we say? But there's nothing to suggest our league form is going to drop off in terms of results. It could be uncomfortable, but we just need 4 wins, I think, to get this. So we're still in a fantastic position. So again, anxious, concerned, our safety nets of other stuff, competitions. But the quad was a 5% pipe dream. Even the treble's really, really hard. And look, if failing in the cups helps us get the league and possibly a long shot of the Champions League, then I'll take it. It's just, unfortunately, you have to go through this pain first in order to get to the joy.
Yeah, and I think there's probably 2 elements feeding into that kind of thinking that the wheels might be coming off. I mean, I'm not sure if you watched the City game on Saturday.
No.
But they looked good. Like, Liverpool were shocking. I mean, they are just Man City's cucks every single time they play. But Liverpool weren't great, but Man City did look good. And there's kind of been this question about, Arsenal have the best and the deepest squad. I actually think Man City have the best and the deepest squad, and I'm not just saying that to divert. I think they're we have a lot of players that kind of, I don't know, there's not like I look at Trossard and Martinelli, and like they are quite different in the way that they play, but I don't think that they're at a quality level that could actually match Semenyo and Doku. I would even potentially have like a Savinho over like someone like Martinelli potentially. So I think the squad that Man City have got is actually better than ours, and then you kind of compound the League Cup final defeat with that performance they had yesterday. It's just that narrative point again. It's the fear. It's the fear. It's like they're right on your coattails. They're right on your back. They do tend, when they play well, they do blow away teams. When we play well, we win 2-0, 3-1. When they play well, they seem to absolutely batter teams. So I think that's probably which is obviously what Man City do is nothing really to do with us. We can't control that, so it's just an external thing. But that's probably leading to a bit of the feeling that the wheels are going to come off, because any slip from now, and especially at the Etihad, and if they beat Palace, then it is going to be an exceptionally tight 6 weeks. But the other thing that's feeding into it, I think, is I was watching the game last night and I was like, where has the defensive solidity gone? Like, obviously Rice wasn't playing, Zubimendi wasn't playing, Saliba wasn't playing, and Timber wasn't playing, and Raya wasn't playing. So I take that.
Well, there's your answer.
Well, I know, but like, it's not enough of for me anyway, the structures that we were playing with earlier in the season, where we weren't conceding, weren't conceding shots on target, we were barely conceding a goal. There was all that chat about we were going to beat Chelsea's record. And I take the point that there is sort of like key structural pillars missing from the game last night. But like, I was seeing similar things last night to kind of that second half against City. And pretty much throughout all of 2026, I don't think we've been that defensive solid team, even when we've had those players back. So taking last night isolated, yes, okay, we were missing the players, but it's becoming a bit of a theme for me this in 2026, like the calendar year. I think Gabriel seems to be struggling for form, which will be feeding into it. But it's just that in itself. There's the City thing, and then there's us not necessarily being as watertight as we were at the back. That's feeding into this perception, which has already been built on by, Arsenal are bottle jobs, Arsenal aren't going to do it. And it's just feeding into this perception that something's coming that we really don't like, when we've been in a position all season of being like, this is a different Arsenal, because we were a different Arsenal, but it's almost like the cracks are starting to and to be fair, I think we'll still be okay, but I can certainly see why there's a lot of nerves starting to come back in.
Yeah, no, and just a couple of things on what you're saying there, and starting with the squad. We do have a really good squad, and we went out last year at the summer because of injuries, and we really supplemented the squad, and we have a very good squad. But the squad is there not to have two exceptional first 11s. No, the idea of the squad is that you have players that can come in and out and supplement your team, one or two individuals to either rest players up if there's injuries. It's not about having the second best 11 in the country. However, and so what happens is it's that we've had to rely on more people and a larger number of people and a lot more inconsistency with our squad. And then when you're turning out second 11s like we did yesterday, well, these players don't play regularly. They don't play regularly to get together, and so there is a bit of a risk when you go and do that. So again, to talk about the squad, I would suggest, I don't know, so maybe it's similar to Man City and stuff like that. And maybe Man City may have maybe a better second 11 than our second 11. I don't know, I haven't paid too much attention, and maybe that's just recency bias, because if we talked about it at the beginning of the season, we'd be saying, no, ours is the best squad since whenever. So yeah, so that squad talk is some people talk about it, but it's a miss. It's not talked about in the right way. We do have a brilliant squad, but if you're having to bring in more and more of those players in, and then they come in, it's fine, one or two players coming into a fully functioning team, but if they're coming also into a semi-functioning team, which you've been since the new year, that's a very different thing there. So yes, we've got a good squad, but you don't want to be relying on 6-7 of them in groups all the time. You want to be just one or two coming in, and their job is to take minutes off others, rest people up, and be there when we need it, and not too worried there. And the rest of it, a lot of it's just variance. We front loaded our ability to keep out goals, and now suddenly something's happened mentally, physically, inconsistency. Something's there that now all of a sudden, and also teams work out how to play you. And what I was thinking about this earlier, what's really interesting, and it was blatantly clear, we were not set up with a team that was going to be good off the ball and out of possession. If you look at that spine of Kepa, an unfit Gabriel, Mosquera is great but still young, Nordgaard and Jesus, if you could find him, that that is not a team, an out of possession off the ball team. So yesterday, and there was the same with Mansfield and some of the players. So yesterday was that was a lot about it. So I think there's loads of things that come into play that now other teams are working us out. We've taken a drop off in form, inconsistencies. Yeah, because we did have that aura.
Mm-hmm.
But again, now's been like that season as well, with all the cups all coming together. So you're combining mixed teams. As I said, Carabao Cup, Eze was a big miss, and that had it. And then the Kepa in goal was a big issue with that final. Then yesterday, a second 11, a B team, and it's all being merged with also then our Champions League form and our league form, and so it sort of get merged. But if you can compartmentalize them a bit, you'd actually see, well, actually our league form's fine. It's okay. It's good. Okay, you have your ups and downs, but in general, it's still good. It's still the best in the Premier League. Just our cup games have sort of maybe taken the shine off that a bit. So,
yeah.
Where do you stand? And I posited this before because I thought this was going to be tricky. And actually, I couldn't predict us losing, but if I could, I was going to say we're going to lose this one 2-1. For various reasons. Where do you stand on the fact that this actually might be a good thing, or not a good thing? Losing last night was not the worst result in the world for us in terms of the rest of the season. Where do you stand on that versus winning as a habit? Nice to go to Wembley again. Blah blah blah.
I think. There's so much in there, because if we kind of use the justification of the Man City defeat, or certainly I did, of it being right, okay, this is the line in the sand. I've had to watch the City players go up and lift the trophy, and it's a very real and very in front of their face reminder of what can happen if you either don't turn up, or you don't turn up fully prepared, or whatever. And you can kind of say, okay, they're going to use that as a kind of a turning point, I think we said jumping off point for the rest of the season. But then when you get this one so close after, and I get that it's a rotated team, but I don't know if we can still use that, still use that justification, because it feels, I don't know, it feels a little more tenuous when it's happened 2 games in a row. And I think, what was it Arteta said in the post-match reaction, he was like, there's a lot of players that need to go in there and have a look at themselves in the mirror or something like that. I think that was the headline on Sky Sports.
Wow. True.
Well, yeah, and I think we probably could name them without, probably name the same players if we wrote them down on a bit of paper and didn't actually speak to each other. But yeah, I think the positive is we don't have another couple of games. This is the most silver lining look at it. Another couple of games, potentially another game against Man City. Because the likelihood, I don't know what the score in the game was today. The likelihood is
West Ham were losing 2-0, and the draw is going to take place any moment now.
Yeah.
So. Oh my God. Sorry, it was 2-0, and now it's 2-2. 90 plus 3, 90 plus 6. Bloody hell.
Very funny.
Oh my God! And this is the biggest shock. Adama Traore assist. Jesus Christ!
Yeah.
Sorry, sponsored by Baby Oil. There we go. Sponsored by Johnson & Johnson Baby Oil. There we go. Sorry. Anyway, you were making a serious point about the most silver linings.
Yeah. But it's kind of, it was just like the likelihood would have been that we would have played Man City or Chelsea, just kind of probability wise. So then you're going in at a time where I'm not sure when the FA Cup semi-finals were, but I'm assuming they were in and around the time of the Barcelona game. I know the Burnley game might have had to get moved, or the Newcastle game might have to get moved. A lot
they would be. So actually, if you get to the, I have got it here. I'm prepared. It's for so the semi-final. So the FA Cup, I have got it. FA Cup semi-final would be Saturday the 25th. So that would be when we're playing Newcastle. So that means Man City Burnley, or Burnley Man City would be moved, and that would be pre-semi-final of the Champions League if we get there.
Yeah.
So it's the week after the Arsenal City game.
Yeah.
And then the final is the week before the end of the Premier. Is it the end of the Premier League? Yes, the 16th and the end of the Premier League. So so there was a potential, for then what would happen is both the Newcastle and Burnley games would have to move midweek, one before final and one after the final. So there's a potential for City to have back end congestion there. Yeah.
Well, City's back end congestion as well as like us just avoiding those games again, because it's better. Like, I guess there's that point you want to get back to Wembley to right the wrongs of a couple of weeks ago, and then if you go into a semi-final and beat Man City, or even a final and beat Man City, then it can kind of right those wrongs. But I think we've discussed it. My eyes are all on the Premier League this season. Even if we got put out the semi-final of the Champions League, it would be gutting. But I'm just solely focused on the Premier League, and everything else in the Champions League feels like a little bit of a bonus. And the fact that if we don't have to play a semi-final in and around that semi-final of the Champions League, then I think that's pretty much the only positive you can take from something last night. That it reduces our kind of contraction, but it's like it allows you to focus on the two key objectives at the start of the season, which would have been to win the Premier League and go as far as you can in the Champions League. And it allows us to kind of to just solely focus on that, play our best 11, because I don't think we'll go in for the rest of the season and see the likes of Kepa, maybe not even Miles Lewis-Skelly, but just focus on those two key core competitions, because that's what ultimately at the end of the day, if we do well in both of those, we'll look back and we'll be like, don't care, Southampton, don't care. Do you know what I mean?
No, exactly. This, we win our next few games. This will be easily forgotten, and that's where I was alluding to. I think, that fixture pile up, that congestion at the end. Our squad is not on its last legs, but there's fatigue in there. So if they can when. And then City will have to also fit in a Palace game there as well. Now, these games aren't the hardest games, but you have them back to back to back. It's sort of, that's it. And also, I'd rather lose away to Southampton in the quarterfinals. Okay, the man of defeat, who he played, fine, and we are going to talk about that. Then I think that's less damaging than, say, going to Wembley. And look, it's hate to predict. We could win, and we could win both, and it's fine. But if we were to lose to Chelsea, God forbid, if we were to lose to Chelsea in a semi-final, final, or lose to Man City again, I would suggest that has more psychological damage. Now, I'm going into that with a negative viewpoint, but it's an angle, and that could possibly happen. And again, we would have to prioritise, because I think if we should be getting through to the Champions League semi-final, you would have a semi-final. He would be playing, it would be like Wenger against Chelsea in the League Cup all those years ago when he just played the kids. We would be putting whereas Chelsea can purely focus on just this, I'd suggest. It's, as I said, we're going to have to go through some pain now. Even the treble was a big ask, and so if you're not going to win the treble, that means you're going to have to fall out of a competition soon. I'd rather be sooner than later. If you're not going to win it, fine. And it's not like beforehand, hey, these players need minutes. No, we're not in that now. Okay, we've now got 7 in the league and potentially five in the Champions League. So that's 12 games. You're playing your best 11 for the next, best 11 plus or minus 1 or 2 from the squad for the next 12 games. If you can't do that, then you shouldn't be a professional footballer at this time of the year, type stuff. So I think it provides clarity. I think it provides real clarity for everyone involved. Clarity for Arteta, because of what you just said. Right, these are my guys. Either that you're not going to touch grass again unless we're spanking a team, or we've had a cholera breakout at Sobo Reality Centre. You're not going anywhere near this team again. So I think it's one of these things. But there's that raw emotion. There is that fear there. There's the couple of losses that and then you're getting stoked up by rival fans. It's understandable that people will react that they do, and there's been a lot on the social, and that's fine. No one's policing anyone. Everyone reacts how they want to react. I think in the cold light of day, a couple of wins, we're back on an evenish keel.
You said it, like we went on Saturday. Like, I know I keep going, we went on Saturday, we've got a game on Tuesday, but we went on Saturday, it's all forgotten. Like I am nervous about that game on Saturday, but if we win it, City have got a difficult game on Sunday, and it just blows all of this away. Just like, I'm not. We've discussed this a couple of times as well. We don't need the performance. Just get that win on Saturday, and like that. You're saying jumping off point, but then that can just be almost like the pressure release valve, and it's like, right, let's go, let's keep this momentum, and let's just rock on for this next what would be 3 or 4 wins needed. To get us over the line, because it feels as though it's like we've had the knockbacks in the two domestic competitions now, and if you're to ask any of us in August what was the 2 competitions you would be happy to go out of, it would be those 2. So it's like, let's not let the kind of failures in those competitions cloud and become too become too impactful for the nerves around the league game, because they always are and always will be more important. It's like you said, it's just trying to compartmentalize that away and be like, yes, it is annoying, yes, it's frustrating, yes, it doesn't look good, but let's just try, and I don't know what the word is, but it's like, let's just compartmentalize it, and
just refocus and let it not derail our season, and just put it into context. Again, people hate that, and people blah blah blah. They just want to see us winning. They just want to see us winning, so it's fine. Win and everything's forgotten. Unfortunately, last night we didn't win, and so let's kick up. Let's look back at the Southampton game, and let's start off with the lineup. It was a heavily rotated team, and I think if you look at the lineup, so we have Kepa in goal, then MLS, Gabriel, Mosquera, White in defence, Norgard, Odegaard, and Havertz midfield, and then Martinelli, Jesus, and Dowman as our front 3. Now, I would suggest that a lot of people would have predicted or wanted that lineup and would have been happy with that lineup before the game. Everyone's thinking, given everything, that seems to be a good balance. And it's obvious that Arteta's clearly prioritising the league and UCL, and we don't know the fitness of others. And he's taking a risk. It didn't pay off, but he took a risk. So, where were you with that lineup? I assume, were you pretty close to that as well?
Yeah, pretty much as expected. I think I had a slight feeling for Lewis Skelly in midfield. And I guess nominally he started at left back, but he did play quite a lot, as he always does when he came in. But I think everywhere else was pretty much as expected, especially after Gyökeres's big week away with Sweden. He was always going to get a bit of a break, especially before going back to his old club on Tuesday. And everything else was kind of as expected. I didn't expect to see Saka or Declan Rice anywhere near the lineup. I guess the slight surprise was maybe Trossard. I'm not sure if there's anything going slightly more, like if it's actually a genuine injury or not. Or a bit more, I say genuine injury, like a bit more of an actual, a longer term thing than perhaps we thought it might have been when he dropped out of the Belgium squad. But I think pretty much as expected, and great to have. Well, there's two things I liked about the lineup. Well, 3 if you include Max Dowman, but I'm sure we'll come to him later on. But it was Madueke, seeing him on the bench, because I know we all had that sharp in breath when we seen him kind of limping through the mix zone after that England game. So seeing him and then on the bench, and then him actually even coming on in the second half was a great relief. And then the second player would be Odegaard. I thought it was relatively bright in the first half, but then just faded, which is, you ideally wouldn't fade against the Championship team, but like they were bang up for it. And he obviously came off, probably being managed for Tuesday, managed for next Saturday. But I thought he was decent, he was bright. But even outside of his performance, it was good to see him back, because it was kind of rumbling on. It feels like he's been a few days or a week away for like the past 6 weeks. So it was good to actually have him finally confirmed in a starting lineup and back in the squad.
Yeah, no, it is pleasing, because we don't know how long Eze's out for. And look, Arteta's always tight-lipped about injuries, and yes, and look, I'll be surprised if there isn't anyone who's been playing consistently that hasn't got some sort of knock. That isn't carrying. That's just the life of a professional footballer this time of the year. So I'm sure Trossard is not 100%, so I think rest and recovery, and maybe just needs a bit extra. So we don't know the reality of Nkapie. What was up with him, and I'm sure again Rice and Saka, it's just more rest and recovery and so on. So I think it was like the best we could put out. it'd be nice even if we didn't have to put out Gabriel, but who else do we play in defence? I mean, I guess you could have maybe put White and Mascara together and put Salmon out right. But let's see how much of an issue is. So you sort of touched on him, and I'm going to go through what was your highlight and low light from last night's game, and I'm sure a highlight is. It depends how broad or narrow you go in terms of your highlight. So yeah, what would your highlight and low light from yesterday's game be?
My highlight and low light kind of actually kind of interlinked with each other. So the highlight is just maxed out. The guy is just absolutely ridiculous. Even like something as early as like the 4th minute in, he was dribbling with the ball and like rolled his left foot over the ball, and you're just like the technical level to be able to do that at speed is just frightening. He was direct, he was confident, he had that like confidence of youth, maybe that confidence of not being quite 100% drilled into the Arteta system yet. It's free, just exciting. Like I absolutely love watching him play. He had a right-footed shot, I think, maybe halfway through this first half, and the power he got on that, because you're kind of almost like, you're thinking about these players, and you're like, oh, is he going to be dead one-footed? But then when you see that, it's like he goes both sides. His strength to be able to like hold off these men at 16 years old, it's just frightening. And yeah, I think. I mean, there's not too much. He obviously didn't score. He didn't get an assist. But I think outside of that, he was certainly our most threatening player. It was our whole team, as they have done every time he's been on the pitch. Really, they always look to him, which kind of says all you really need to know about it. When adult professionals are giving it out to a 16-year-old, they see him day in, day out, and they can clearly see what he's got, and it's so exciting to see him in an Arsenal shirt. And almost like directly relevant to that point, the low light was just, where were the rest of the team? Where was the adults? Like we were relying on a 16-year-old in a quarter-final of a domestic cup competition, which we kind of fame ourselves as being, well, we're obviously like got the most wins in it, but fame ourselves as being the FA Cup team, and the rest of the team just didn't really turn up. Like, I mean, Jesus, you mentioned it earlier. Like, the guy was just totally like, I don't know. There's probably a joke in there about Easter and him being like,
wow,
or something. But like,
patience. I've got it. It's coming.
Sorry. But yeah, it's just, he wasn't there. Like, Havertz kind of struggled. Obviously, Ben White with the uncharacteristic error. Like, they were really like, it was like seeing the comparison of like the kind of free 16-year-old and what he was doing, and almost carrying us kind of like in the way that Saka used to do for a few seasons. It didn't put the rest of the squad in a good light at all, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I was the same. That was my highlight, his performance. Yeah, I was really surprised that he played the full 90. Did not expect that at all, because we talked about it in the past that someone of that age, physically but also mentally, having to play a full game, and I've talked about it in the past, but didn't seem to be much of an issue, and he seemed to deal with it. And it was an amazing show of faith. Well, faith or no option, but I'm going with the faith that when Odegaard comes off, and look, I don't think it was the opposition that is why Odegaard faded. It's just that he hasn't played for how long, and he was busy. He was moving around. Again, that's a positive from yesterday. At least there are some positives to take if you can. There's always some silver linings, and him just being back fit. The positive is we have another body in the team, but we haven't got Eze. Havertz in midfield works on occasion when he's fully fit, and he's clearly still getting up to speed and stuff like that. So to have someone like Odegaard, and if he's with the right midfielders, so if he's with the Zubimendi and Rice, and if we can just say, right, go away, just play in the final third, then I think that's a positive, and so on. But the fact that he then went to central attacking midfielder, Madueke comes on, he's now, and then he played brilliantly there, and they had to chop him down to stop him. And
well, I think that's his position, isn't it? Like I think right attacking eight will be his actual position, probably for next season. I don't know.
Well, he has to work off the ball a bit and all the rest of it. But yeah, wherever he put him in the park, just that direct running is always a threat. Players panicking. And I was really lucky where the Arsenal fans were and where I was side onto it. So he was, in the first half, he was down our side all the time. Ben White got a bit annoyed with him a couple of times. So why didn't you pass to me? I've just made a lung-busting run. And so he still got, I think we talked about it again before, his when to release the ball, when not to. So yesterday was a perfect example of he should have played it out to Ben White because he would have been clear through on one of his overlaps. And then that time when he passed to Gyökeres, when no, just go and shoot, it's opening up for you. And so he still has to have that. Yeah, you find that balance between when to have the confidence to know I've got the ball now versus to pass it. And I was worried that actually, you're right. I was worried we were going to knacker him out because basically our one tactic was give it to Dowman, give it to that. And the comparison with Saka, give it to Saka, we'll give it to Dowman. The thing is, teams are going to find him out. The teams are going to have to work him out. And then again, could you imagine if he was on our left-hand side?
Oh.
If he was on our left-hand side, so if he's a left footer, so imagine if he was a right footer, having Saka one side, him on the left, you can't double up on both.
No,
it's because it's still on our right-hand side. There's people, so he's going to have the Saka thing. Teams are going to double up on him. It's just going to get kicked from here to Kingdom Come and so on. So.
And that's why the recruitment in the summer is so important, because it just means that you can't do that. If you go out and sign an exceptionally talented left winger, it's exactly that. It's like, play Max. I think Max's best position will be that Odegaard position. He'll play it massively different to Odegaard, but if you just put quality on the other side of the pitch, we've already got it over there with Calafiori. If you just put another draw over there, it's like you say, they can't do it. They can't double up on Saka. They can't double up on Max Dowman when he eventually plays in that midfield role. But I was going to ask you, so see, he obviously played the 90 minutes. Do you think there's anything to read into that? Do you think it is just a lack of alternatives, or do you think he is getting some fitness to play a bit more?
Game state, lack of alternatives. I mean... It's not. Let's not get carried away. But again, it's Southampton away in a cup, in an FA Cup quarter final. Yeah, and you see the rest of the team around him. So and look, okay, fine. Stay out there because you seem to be the most creative. And maybe it is part of it is all the experience you can get, all the fitness you can get is great. But I still think he's going to be a 20-minute off the bench player. He's not going to be starting ahead of Saka, ahead of Madueke, because there's still a lot to be said for experience and stuff like that. And the next challenge he's going to have to face is actually that doubling up thing and proper teams with proper setups doubling up against him. You're not playing in the under-19s. You're not playing lower level football where the coaching and the opposition aren't. Even if they double up and you triple up on you, like against Portugal, he'll just sort of like walk through you and score a banger. So I still think he will be an off the bench player unless there's a really issue with injuries problems, because I don't think he starts ahead of Saka or Madueke still, because even though we feel he has the greater potential, there's still a lot to learn, a lot to do, and you don't we don't want to kill him either. You've got to think bigger picture. And also, again, he's brilliant. If you have to rely on him, then there's a problem there. Now, look, we'll worry about that problem in the summer. But there's a lot about that. So I think again, testament to him and all the rest of it. But I still think he still needs to be managed carefully. But at some point, let him go, unleash the Dowman, and fuck the rest, sort of thing. So I like you with my highlight and my low light. Yes, for a time of year when they talk about Jesus appearing, our one disappeared. There you go. Right, no, but it was like playing with 10 men at time, and that was a massive low light. It's like, well, what? He's such a shadow of him for himself, and great. So all we as Arsenal fans have got 3 months of Jesus to hold on to. The rest has been pockets of, towards the end of last season towards the middle of last season before he got his ACL, the hat trick against Palace and the 2 goals against Palace or whatever it was, okay, there was something there, but he just, I don't know, he just doesn't have physicality to do what he does anymore. And he's just not at this level, not in this country. I'm sure he'll be great in Italy, for instance, or somewhere where it's less intense, but he just can't cut it in the Premier League anymore. And he doesn't offer anything on the ball, off the ball. And he was the worst of a group of players that underperformed. Ben White, I don't know. Do you think the week he's just had got to him? Because we see him as this sort of figure that outside of football couldn't give two shits about football. That old cliche. Like, he cares passionately. He doesn't. You don't get where you are as a professional footballer to the level he's at without caring about your job. But do you think the stuff that happened with England, the booing, and I didn't hear it because Arsenal fans were saying, but apparently he got booed again yesterday. So that's fine. You're doing it to unsettle the opposition, so you know it's not for any other reason. So it's fine. But do you think maybe that is getting to him a bit? Maybe that was, it's an issue.
Yeah, I think at some level it would impact you. I think if it was me, then I think if you're coming on to the pitch and your own fans are booing you, then yeah, it's going to have.
I know Southampton fans, not as an Arsenal fans.
Well, I mean England.
Oh, in England. Oh, yeah.
Then it's going to have some sort of kind of lasting impact, and at the highest level, it may only be a 5% impact, but that's the 5% that misjudges you under the flight of a ball for their first goal. Do you know what I mean? So, I wouldn't go too deep on it, but yeah, I would think that there has been some impact, like even just having to answer, like walk into the dressing room back at Arsenal, and you would be getting support, but you'd be feeling a wee bit. I would be feeling a wee bit awkward about it. Like, I'm sure you would be getting all the support from like Saka and Declan Rice and things like that, and he'll certainly listen to them a lot more than he will a few boos from fans of other clubs. But yeah, I don't think it's too much of a leap to say that there probably is a little bit of a correlation there, because I've never seen Ben White do that before. Like it wasn't even as if like it was like a kind of floated cross. There wasn't a huge amount of power on it. Like it was bad. I mean it might not have shown on TV, but the wind conditions were quite bad. So and actually the Southampton manager alluded to it, that they actually changed. It was them that changed round the teams at kickoff. And he got asked about that. Was that because of the wind conditions? And he said, well, what do you think? Sorry, he didn't admit it, but basically he was admitting it. And that's why but that was happening all game, wasn't it? Like, yeah, we were misjudging headers. We were trying to go for it and it was going over our heads. And look, they almost scored from one, and Mosquera had to make a great recovery. Brilliant. A lot of the time we were misjudging things. And so again, there's a mentally not switching on or not being right about it or understanding that's the case. So look, if that's the case, you're a bit worried. Just stay on the attacker. Make it hard for anyone to get. You don't have to win a clean header, but he's not going to get the ball either, sort of thing. So it's a tough one. And then another one. Again, you don't want to go two-footed into a 19-year-old, but I have no idea what's happened to MLS, and that again must be mentally hard for him. He had like the season of his life, the year of his life last season with Watley coming in, superstar against Real Madrid, was our first choice left back, was great, and then this, I think we always knew this was going to be that difficult second album cliche talking away, but this is sort of beyond that, not being able to make a 5-yard, 10-yard pass across the pitch and you booting it out, and again. Mentally, it must be really challenging for someone younger. Ben White, older, you have to deal with a 19-year-old suddenly going from England's left back for the World Cup to barely making Arsenal's second 11. That must be really hard, and you got to feel for him, and his limitations are really showing up as a left back, and it's a tough one to watch, but also. Especially this is being a professional footballer. Yeah, exactly. And it kind of has always that question mark around Arteta, isn't it? It's like once he doesn't fancy a player, they're pretty much gone. They're just jettisoned, and like that's kind of all well and good if they're a 27-year-old player and that they can back themselves. But you do need to treat like these younger players like Ethan Nwaneri, Miles Lewis-Skelly. I don't think we'll have the same issue with Max Dowman, fingers crossed, but you do need to treat the situation more sensitively and slightly differently, and it doesn't really seem like he's done that this time, which is potentially...
Well, you can't just give him sympathy minutes though either. So
it's more than that.
But he's got to perform as well. He's got to. Well, this is my moment. I've got to. But even if you show flashes of it, players can make mistakes. That's fine. But it's just something. His overall.
No, but he's clearly showing flashes. I know that it was only Moldova, but he showed, like, he played well for England in the midweek in the under-21. So it is, to me, it's obviously a quality thing. But like at Southampton, it's not Man City or Chelsea we were playing. Like, there's more going on with him at Arsenal than it just being him, because he changes environment and he's kind of, well, he looks as if he's fine. Like I said, there's other factors playing into that, like quality of the opposition, but I think there's probably a slightly different way it could have been handled. Obviously I don't know the personality of the player, but I think he was always the more kind of effervescent one, the more kind of outspoken one, that when compared with Nwaneri, and perhaps it feels like he's been put in his place a little bit more, and that's kind of then caused him to be a bit more guarded and second guess, or like pause even for a second when he's making a pass, whereas previously he was so confident in his own body, his own technique and his own skill level, but now he's just have that pause, he's got that bit of self-doubt in there, and then that whole thing just kind of just not falls apart, but then you just falls on itself.
Yeah, it does feel like it's a mental thing. It's you go away with England under 19s or whatever. It's a just less pressurized environment and stuff. So yeah, maybe, but I guess this is part of learning. This is part of being a professional footballer. I think maybe, okay, you've shown yourself, okay, you're not you're young, but also you're 19 now. So you want to play with the big boys. We're going to treat you like one of the big boys. It's not like you're 16 anymore. So I think it's a difficult one for him, because you can see he's struggling. There's the talent there. I don't think he knows what he is yet. I don't think he's not a left back. He's a bit too one-dimensional in terms of as a left back, in terms of, I think, easily turned, ball over the top, all the rest of it. But would he get minutes as a midfielder? So I don't know. And one to talk about over the summer. And I think the final low light, and this is, I think, is the biggest low light of them all, is the Gabriel injury. Yeah, that is. You just hate that. Why are you sitting on the floor? Oh God! Yeah. You just and I know he was feeling his hamstring. He had ice on his knee. I don't know. I think he's nursing a knee injury since the Brazil game at the last international. Yeah, I don't think we had any other choice than to play him. But I don't know what it looked like. I didn't. All we noticed is he's on the floor and he's like. Maybe he was only planning to play 60 and Saliba 30, but still, I don't know. What did it look like from TV?
I know it doesn't look good when they kind of ask to come off, does it? Like, and it's just compounded by that Hincapié injury because like we managed with Gabriel earlier in the season, because we could kind of drop Hincapié into centre back and Calafiori at left back, but now it's likely we won't have. Hincapié at least for a few weeks. So that means, back to our friend that we were just discussing, Miles Lewis-Skelly at left back, and you're asking at potentially the most critical point of the season to him to come in with an Emirates Stadium on Saturday that might be quite nervous.
Very.
It's kind of that thing. We get injuries, but we certainly get injuries in the same positions all the time. It's just never like a striker, a right winger, a centre back, and a centre mid. It's like, oh yeah, all three of your left backs are injured now. By the way, it's just makes it so much more hard to manage. And yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed. I mean, we get a bit of the Madueke luck, and it was just because I think we can see that this season the Arsenal players are being a lot more cautious when they do feel something. They are going down, they're dropping out. Like even in kind of warm ups in games, we've seen, was it Saka dropped out of the of one of the games? I think it was someone else did as well. I can't remember. They dropped out.
Oh yeah, like Calafiori in the warm up to against Wigan, and we had Saka against Leeds and stuff like that. So yeah, a lot more cautious.
Fingers crossed. It's just that caution. And they've been given instructions to go down the minute that they feel something and just get off the pitch. So hopefully it's that. But yeah, I think if it is anything longer, it's all this stuff just adding and building to this. Like, it's the wheels coming. They're not coming off, but it's like
just making it. Why is it so fucking hard?
It's like in isolation, your centre back gets injured. Yeah, it's not great, but then it's like Man City are also starting to play really well. It seems, and it's like, do you know what I mean? It's all of that sort of stuff. Just like it's like the perfect storm a wee bit.
I was thinking about this. Do other teams? I don't listen to other podcasts. Actually, the only podcast I listen to as a guilty pleasure is a Tottenham one because it's very funny. But I wonder if Liverpool fans were going through this torture or angst or torment like last season. I'm sure no City fan has had this sort of this sort of discussion. I feel like we're not unique, but we're neurotic.
Yeah.
We are. I think we're a very neurotic fan base at the moment, and rightly so, because anything that could go wrong is going wrong, and it's just like, again, we're in a privileged position. We're doing really well, and it's just like, okay, we just want it to be a little bit easy. Why does it have to be so fucking hard all the time? And and look, and talking about hard. The St Mary's is not exactly one of our favourite places to go. We haven't got a very good record. I think I've got something here. Played 17, won 6, drawn 5, lost 6. So it's like, you know, they've always annoyed us.
Yeah, and the Emirates as well, Southampton, because they came, what was it, a couple of seasons ago in that Ramsdale era straight to that whatever.
Yeah, the 3-3 draw. Yeah. Walcott scored and stuff like that. Yeah. So it's you know, and look, I never thought this was going to be an easy game. Look, they're the informed team in the Championship. I think they're unbeaten in 14, now 15. Only lost 3 at home. You know, we had a heavily rotated team under the lights, FA Cup, difficult conditions. Any team would smell an upset, you know, and I think it was always going to be, you know, a difficult game. But, you know, everyone was seen to be in good spirits. It's the FA Cup. And actually, as a game, I was actually really enjoying it up until they scored. But it was an entertaining game. It was like back and forth. Like the first 10, 20 minutes was maybe a bit too open for my liking, but it was very end-to-end, back and forth. You could see Dalman was good. You could see Odegaard was doing stuff. Okay, we were a bit open at the back, but we were still managing. So I know I found it quite an entertaining game, and I just thought, okay, this is fine. Just as long as we can deal with that, the goals will come. And I thought, yeah, we had a couple of, you know, the Martinelli had a shot. Yeah, the shot, and brilliant defending, headed over. Odegaard had that missed kick from the penalty spot.
He needs to score that. And the obvious question is, like, does he score that with a wee bit more kind of match fitness? You'd like to think so. If he gets that chance in a Champions League semi-final or against City, you'd like to think he would score it, and like last night was just rust, but still, like the position that he was in on his left foot, he needs to be.
Yeah, I was side on, so we missed a couple of these chances. We were like, let's go. Oh no, they're bouncing wide over. I couldn't see how cleanly it was, but yeah, a lot of people are saying, yeah, he's got to be hitting that cleanly. That goes in. So it seems like, yeah, we were building the pressure. Okay, it was end-to-end first 10 minutes. Then after that, we got a bit more control. We were building that pressure. Southampton defending well, and it was a very familiar story against a difficult team, a stubborn defence. They defended well. We just couldn't find. We couldn't break it down, and then we make a mistake and concede. So yeah, how were you feeling like about the game, about the first half? You know, in general, and even at 1-0, about our chances.
I kind of felt as if I didn't feel like the first half I felt okay about. Like, I thought we'd always kind of be able to come back, get an equaliser, and I thought we'd go and win 2 or 3-1 from there. The second half I wasn't happy with. Like, the second half it just reminded me of that second half against Wolves. Where we just looked completely rudderless. We looked kind of without ideas. I know some of that would have been because Odegaard played well in the first half and he was kind of knitting it together. But he kind of faded in the second half, which is understandable because he's not played in 6-8 weeks. But yeah, I just like it comes back to that point of like Havertz to me. He's never worked in midfield. He's a really good striker for us, but he's never worked in either of the right 8 or the left 8 positions. For me, it takes too long. It takes too long to get his first touch, to get his head up and to think about what he needs to do next. And when you're in the centre of the park, you need to almost be thinking 2 or 3 steps ahead, and you need to know what you're going to do before the pass is even made from whoever it's coming from. And I think him in that position just slows us down, and it allows them to then bank up and get in. And I remember because me and Moz went down for that Wolves game, and I was standing as I think it was when we were still 2-1 up at this point. And it was the first time. I'm very much still like a big, massive fan of Arteta, and I think he's actually under.
Well, we said last time he's underappreciated. What he's doing with what he's got this season and where we've taken us is incredible.
Exactly, he's massively underappreciated by our own fan base. I think from where we were like 5 or 6 years ago. But sitting at that Wolves game, I was like, that is the first, and it was just a slight, tiny doubt. I was like, is what these other people say, does it have validity? I was like, and when they went and equalised and got the 2 each, I was like, oh god. But I just kind of like compartmentalised it and put it away to the one side. But then watching that game last night, I had some of the same feelings. Like, I'm not like I said, I'm still fully supportive. I love the manager, but I'm like, I was slightly concerned by that second half. I won't lie.
I don't know. I think yesterday was on the players. Arteta took a risk, but players have got certain, as we called out, Jesus nowhere, Ben White poor, MLS poor, Mosquera and Gabriel hesitant, Kepa limited. And I was thinking about this the other day. If there was one player that I would not want to lose for the rest of the season, it would be Raya. I think Raya is the most important player in our team, and not because of his goalkeeping, even though that's fucking brilliant. It's because everything starts from him and what he can do with the ball at his feet. And you take him out, and we're not rudderless, but we just lose something, and we have options elsewhere for all the other players. But I think the Raya drop is the biggest drop off that we have, and so important. And so Kepa again is fine. He's a great mid-table goalkeeper, but he limits us in terms of what we can do. So and Havertz still unfit, Odegaard's still unfit, and stuff like that. But again, Arteta made a risk. But yesterday was on the players. I'd say yesterday's on the players. You go out there, perform, be up for it. This cup quarter final. This is you don't get many minutes, and I know that's hard. But then prove that when the big games come and you're under pressure, he can rely on him. I mean, I one call out. I think Nordgaard. I don't know if it came across on TV, but I thought Nordgaard he's limited, but he was excellent. It felt like he was putting out a lot of fires, and not in like a desperate last ditch way, but he always just seemed to be in the way at the right time, trying to shield the back four. But he was a one man wall, and there's only so much he can cover. But I thought he actually stepped up in terms of he did his job and performed it to a high level compared to a lot of others. Him and Dowman for me were the two standouts. Everyone else, Nelly's a bit iffy at times. Nelly was Nelly and stuff like that. And look, in that second half, we were actually unlucky. We were lucky not to go 2-0 down. I think Southampton had a couple of chances around 60, but we made some changes and we did get the equaliser. And it actually was a nice goal. It was actually a nice bit of play. Lovely pass by Gabriel to Havertz. Mm-hmm. Havertz still hesitant. Could he have shot? But he did a lovely pullback. And Gyökeres, I think maybe I'm reading too much of it. I think Gyökeres is going to be our player for the rest of the season. Okay. I just got a feeling that Sweden thing, that getting to the World Cup, he gets that goal yesterday. Mm. He's not going to do anything apart from score goals, which is fine as long as he does that. But I got a feeling for him to be, he's going to be a clutch. He's just going to be that player who will get that goal. He'll be in the right place at the right time. That's what I'm saying. He was right place, right time, and I think it was a nice finish to get that. And we're thinking, okay, 1-1, 68 minutes. Let's go on and win it. Let's Southampton are going to be a bit iffy, and the one thing, neither team wanted extra time. Southampton have to play playoff contention with Wrexham on Tuesday, then Derby next week. They don't want extra time. We don't want extra time. Doesn't mean we have to fucking give them a goal. But again, out of position. Actually, No, the first goal stemmed from Odegaard and Alman, Mecca. But this one, just no tracking back in midfield. It was off the ball play, no tracking back in midfield, a bit sloppy defending, and they took they had 2 shots and goal, scored 2 goals, and look, again, it can happen. Do you think there was an element of offside? Was Kepa unsighted? No.
I don't think. I mean, technically, I guess like it was. It went to VAR, didn't it? And it would have been incredibly harsh for that to be ruled out. I think for me, I wouldn't have if that was Gyökeres and I don't know, Martinelli ran in front of it, I would be absolutely furious if that was if that was ruled out. But just back, I thought that because you were referencing the goal, I thought the Gyökeres finish was really, really good, like really underrated. Like it looks as if it's an easy chance, but those ones where you have to kind of let it come across your body and then guide it. I think it was a really underrated finish. And if he is that guy, Tabs, after the shit that I've given him for basically November onwards or like October onwards, then I will happily eat my hat because
he's got the T-shirt ready to show. Fuck you, Andy.
Happily, mate. I'll eat it. I'll eat the T-shirt. I'll buy him a coffee. I'll buy him a pint in the 12 pins, whatever he wants. If he takes us there, if he takes us over the line. But yeah, I really like that finish for somebody. Like right place, right time. Like had the confidence. He didn't kind of snatch at it. He could have went at it with his left foot. He had the confidence to like let it come across his body and guide it in, which is certainly, I think that was the more difficult finish to try. But he pulled it off really well, I thought.
Yeah, but again, went 2-1 down, and look, we didn't really a bit of huffing and puffing, but there was no house being blown down, and look, we end up losing. Fair play to Southampton. They got a win that they deserved. I think. And they took advantage of our situation and well played them. And look, we move on. And look, Arteta said, Mikel Arteta said after losing in difficult circumstances, is he surprised? No, they're a good side in reality, in a really good run, and you have to congratulate them. You have to adapt to the win, to the injuries, to whatever. Yeah, you can see he's angry. You want to be in every competition and win. You have to adapt to any context. You have to adapt to difficult situations and disappointing situations. Now we have to show what we're made of. That team had moments in the game and they should have capitalised on. We should be at Wembley. We haven't done it, so that's our responsibility. So I'm just reading words off a screen, but you can just. He's seething when he's not. And you add that to the comments he was making. As I said, there's a lot of players that they're going to be sitting on the bench, and that's where they're staying for the rest of the season if they make the bench. But I hate to say it. It is what it is. We have to move on. If again, we got to focus on our next 2 competitions. And okay, sorry, we just had to stop there for a second. We're restarting. So and by the way, West Ham is now going to penalties, so that's a bit great. So yeah, look, we just have to move on, and again, what we end up with at the end of the season will determine what these games actually meant, and so we just have to wait a bit longer, be a bit more patient, and as we both said, look, if we win the next couple of games, then that will ease the pain. I don't think it will stop the anxiety, but it will just make it a little bit better. And look, we'll go into your 3-word reviews, and thank you for sending them through. And I like to do these because also I think it's a reflection on how a lot of people are feeling post match. A bit of a raw reaction from out there, but it's just a very quick, sort of pithy raw reaction. But I think it sums up the sentiment. So thanks for sending them in, and as always, apologies on my behalf if I can't pronounce DM3737, for instance. So who was on Blue Sky who said fuck the cups? Well, we fucked up the cups. Kaori Victory at Sea, who's very scared now. And Mr. C, the Gooner, and it started off with a question, wheels coming off. So that was on Blue Sky. Thank you. On Threads, Arcady Umuk, the wrong Jesus. Yep. Ian, Ask Cannon Picks, who coincidentally is in Italy, and he's at a place called Stresa, which is where my dad's from. So it was quite bizarre that he happened to be there. He goes, fuck Sky Go. So I'm assuming he had challenges watching the game. The North Back Pod.
These fire sticks.
Well, yeah. The North Bank pod. So that will be Steph. Next stop Lisbon, and I replied, "See you there." So there was 2-3 word reviews there. Paul Latham, Dignity 18, Saints Burn Gunners. Piansky, Dowman's growth experience. Yeah, I think we're seeing that in front of our very eyes. DJ Bucat, who was quite down. We're winning nothing. Okay, and the Johnny Man is flat as fuck. Then you got people like Bayundunai, mediocre, tepid, forgettable. Yeah, correct. L3 Linky, I hate football. It can definitely do that. Then I'm sure this person is always coming in with his firm tongue in his cheek. Trust the process. KN13 HTY, piss poor performance. And then we've got the likes of Man U, Duke, win the league. And yes, that's what we've got to do. And then on TikTok, up the Saints. Thank you for Southampton fans for coming on board. And Pete was very, very bad. So, and then on to the Grove WhatsApp. Noel Mickey D is time to panic. No, there was no question mark. No, time to panic. Alex Munro, a good loss. I think that was maybe in reflecting to what I was saying pretty early in the day about, well, it wouldn't be such the worst thing. Concentrate on league was his other one. Darwit, stop falling fast. Yeah, it does feel that way a bit. Daljit, referencing Southampton being a bit of a bogey team. Bogey not picked. Definitely wasn't. Tom is looking for help. Recommended Therapists UK. And Owen, rest up Kepa. Yeah, one who's definitely not going to see much action for the rest of the season, hopefully. So yeah, look, thank you for sending them through. Yeah, sorry if I haven't read all of them. Just wanted to pick a select few. Okay, City got through to the FA Cup as we talked about it. Chelsea spanked Port Vale, and I'm watching Leeds West Ham at the moment 2-2, but who cares? And actually, I think the best thing for us would be a Man City Chelsea semi-final. That would be very good. Right. Anyway, let's focus on our next game, which is quarterfinal away, first leg to Sporting Club de Lisbon. So I'll just say Sporting from now on. Another Club.
Is it
Sporting Club de Portugal? Sorry. Yeah, I've even got it here in front of me. I don't know. It's so ingrained to say Sporting Lisbon that
are there to save you.
Thank you. So it's another cup competition. Woo! A massive game, but I'd suggest there's a little bit more pressure on it after the Saints result, after the Carabao Cup final result, and Sporting will have watched that game against Southampton and City, and they'll potentially think they've got nothing to fear. But hopefully that's setting a full sense of security, but they'll be confident. So what are you looking forward to, not looking forward to, as far as Arsenal's trip to Lisbon is concerned?
I'm looking forward to seeing how Gyökeres does. Obviously going back to his old stomping ground, and he didn't leave on the best terms because he was obviously not training. So I think he's certainly one of those players that I think if he goes into that atmosphere, that'll spur him on. He's kind of like one of those. He seems to be that mentality monster. He just doesn't let anything faze him, and I think he'll use it as motivation. He obviously knows the defenders well, knows their weaknesses, and on the same point, they'll know his strengths and weaknesses as well. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him, and hopefully he can kind of continue that Sweden form and then on from his goal last night. I am slightly concerned about the game just because, well, was it last season we went away and beat them 5-1? Yeah, it was last season, wasn't it? So, I mean, we've got that to kind of give us an element of like security, because it was only last season we went there and we did wipe the floor with them. But they've played a lot better this season. They've been decent in the Champions League. They're a high energy team, and high energy against our kind of very tired legs and tired we feel tired mentally as well. It could be a tricky one. And to be honest, I know you always ask for predictions at the end, but I don't necessarily know if we'll win. I don't know. I don't think we'll win actually on Tuesday.
Okay.
I think it's imperative that we don't get beat, because we can't go into the Sporting Lisbon home fixture in the similar position that we went into the Porto home fixture a few years back, where they were able to just come and play that kind of deep or even mid-low block, and we just couldn't break them down because we're still struggling with that this season, to break teams down when they've got something to come for, when they've got something to protect. We aren't the best this season at breaking that down. So yeah, I think it's just absolutely imperative that we get out of there with at least a draw. And fingers crossed we have the likes of Saka, Declan Rice. I guess there's a massive question mark now around Gabriel, but hopefully we have Zubimendi back in the lineup, because I think if they play player for player, we're a much better
of course.
team. It's just when you add in those extra factors about the kind of the atmosphere, the intensity, then slightly concerned, but I'm hopeful that we'll get out with a result.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm quietly confident. This is the point I was thinking about, is that it's a very different cup competition away in Europe. It's away from the domestic pressure, so to speak. I think it has a different vibe about it, a different atmosphere about it, and I think you can. And look, it won't be a rotated team. It will be our primary team, as I like to call it, and stuff like that. So it'll be players who aren't potentially impacted by the Southampton result as such, so and it's a different vibe. It's Europe, it's Champions League. It just has different emotions around it. So I'm not too fearful from that perspective. So look, I'm looking forward to the fact that I'm going. I'll be there. Be there. I'm flying out. I've got to leave here at like 5 o'clock in the morning, so I've got an early start tomorrow. But so I'm looking forward to being there for the game, and looking forward to a win. I think we will win, a win to ease the pain of the last couple of defeats, a performance to calm just everyone's nerves down. The Arsenal faithful. I think we'll again to have that before we play Bournemouth. Yeah, I think that's really 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 important.
Yeah.
Whether, and this is a question, is like, how much do we go for it to maybe think about the second leg next week pre-Man City? What you don't want is, like you say, like the Porto game that went to penalties, or the last time Sporting Lisbon came to our house and it went to penalties, and that time we lost. I think it'd be really good if we could make the second leg as comfortable as possible. That's arrogant, and that we're going there, and we'll talk about their form in a minute. But that'd be really nice if we could just sort of just make it as comfortable as possible next week. But I think primarily, as always, if you can't win, don't lose. But I think we're going to go in there. I think he's going to have the attitude. No, let's take this game now. Let's show them who we are.
It is the sorry to interrupt. It is like the first. I guess it's like the first 11 in inverted commas. It's like their first opportunity to, as a first 11, respond to the Carabao Cup final defeat. So obviously we went straight away into the international break, and then a lot of them weren't playing last night. So if we are putting stock in the fact like that we can use it as a bit of a reset point, and use it as a bit of motivation, then Tuesday night will be kind of the first time they're able to show that. And like you say, it makes it easier for them going to City if they can potentially play 60 minutes in that home leg. Potentially they play the 90, but it's not 90 at full intensity. If they can turn up and do their job tomorrow, because like we said, quality wise we're better. It's just whether the intensity and the kind of more the nerves play a bit of a factor in there. Hopefully they shouldn't, because it is a different competition. But yeah, I think if we can, ideally if we could get out tomorrow with a win that enables us to have a break, not a break, but to rest players next Tuesday, that would be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it would be. And what I'm not looking forward to is more the same. So let's just hope that happens, because it again, I think it's going to be a mental thing rather than a physical. We know these players can play. A lot of them will be rested up. Hopefully, if they're playing, it's because they've had their R&R and they're good to go, and this is it. No more dicking about this is the important stuff's happening now. Look, it's all important, but this is it. And so with that in mind, what do you think the lineups gonna be? What is, we don't know about Trossard, don't know about Hincapié, don't know about Big G. What do you think our first 11 is going to be? What do you think the lineup's going to be?
I think that Raya will definitely come back in. I've not. Have you heard about Timber? Is he in?
I think he. Well, no, I don't know about. Actually, that's another one. Yeah, we don't know about Timber either, and stuff. He's a big miss, and given White's performance the other day, no idea.
Yeah, I mean,
but and if we don't have Big G, then you have to play Mosquera in the middle. Otherwise, I would potentially play Mosquera at right back.
Exactly what I was going to say is if we don't have Timber, I would put Mosquera at right back, but we might not actually even be able to do that, given Hincapié and Gabriel probably be missing.
Yeah.
But yeah, midfield kind of speaks for itself. I would start Odegaard. Up top, obviously Gyökeres. I would play Trossard if he's fit, because the Trossard Gyökeres, it just works a lot better than Martinelli Gyökeres. And then I would play, if he's fit enough, Saka. If he's not, then Madueke. Yeah.
No, that's about roughly what I'd like. Raya, Timber, Saliba, Mosquera, Calafiori, Zubi, Rice, Odegaard, Saka, Gyökeres, Trossard. That's assuming reading between the lines in terms of the international sort of withdrawals, but there we go. We'll find out on Tuesday at 6:45, 7:00. So there we go. But look, Sporting Lisbon, I was surprised they actually finished 7th in the Champions League table. I didn't realise 5 wins, 1 draw, 2 losses, but I was looking through. They beat Kairat 4-1 at home. They lost away to Napoli. They beat Marseille, drew with Juventus, beat Club Brugge, lost 3-1 at home to Bayern Munich. Okay, their one big result was against PSG, but I think PSG, I don't know, they were a bit iffy at the time anyway. And they beat Bilbao away 3-2. So a very, well, I guess PSG, Bayern Munich, okay, yeah, but they didn't really pull up any trees. The 2 games, they won 1 game maybe unexpectedly, but yeah, those results seem to be. But then they had an amazing comeback against Bodo Glimt in the last round, where coming back from 3-0 from the away leg to win 5-0 at home. I think Bodo just ran out of steam, and they just couldn't deal with the intensity and the pressure that Sporting created. And in the domestic league, okay, I mean, this is ridiculous looking at this. They last lost a game back in August the 30th, and that was a home defeat to Porto. They've played, was it 27, won 21, drawn 5, lost 1, scored 72 and let in 17. So, but how seriously can you take that league where a lot of the opposition are Championship, League One level? And also what's very funny is that their new striker, Luis Suarez, 24 goals this season. So he's just walked in and replaced Gyökeres, and I think that reflects a lot on their league than more than anything else. So look, not to be taken lightly, but also there shouldn't be anything to fear. It's again, the only team that really can beat Arsenal is Arsenal themselves. If we turn up and do what we can, we should be winning this. But what sort of Arsenal is Arsenal's turning up? And look, they haven't beaten us, so we beat them 5-1 last year, but then we have had 3 draws, and then we beat them back in 2018 at their place. So yeah. So what are you predicting? But yeah, you're not confident of a win, so I'm assuming a draw then.
I think it's just a bit too much to be able to say that to confidently say that we're going to go there and win. It wouldn't surprise me if we did walk away with a 2-0, a 2-1, a 3-1, but I just, after seeing the past few weeks, the injuries, and the kind of the tiredness in the group, I think we will get a draw. I think it'll be 1 each, and I think they'll go ahead first, and then we'll get an equaliser in the second half, and then kind of we'll just see it out rather than going for it.
Okay.
What about yourself?
Yeah, don't know, because you just don't know what Arsenal's turning up. We are so hard to predict at the moment because we can be very, very good. We can be inconsistent. We can be sloppy. Anything can happen. Referees are funny things in Europe. So, but we should be confident that we go in with our best 11, wanting to. They all want to prove a point. They all want to do their best. Blah blah blah. You know, it's we all say it, but it's all cliche. I'm maybe going to go a bit higher than that. I think maybe 3-1, 2-1, 2-0, something like that. I think maybe, maybe like the handbrake might come off. Again, I don't know I don't know much about Sporting. Their results. I can't take their results in the Portuguese seriously. Right, they haven't beaten any of the top teams, so they've not beaten Porto or Benfica.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And the Champions League. Okay, one game against a PSG that I think weren't taking things seriously back in January because I think they already knew they needed to go through the playoffs or whatever. Every other team's put them to the sword as expected. Sort of thing. So I don't create much. So yeah, I'm 2-1, 3-1. That's what I'm hoping for. And yeah, Gyökeres hat trick. There we go.
I would bite your hand off for a 3-1 because I think if we go into 3-1 at the Emirates next Tuesday, then I think next Wednesday, that'll give us enough of a comfort blanket to be able to not rest players, but we won't have to go for it. And then that'll be kind of have deck chairs out ahead of Man City.
The caveat will be what defence we have out, because if you're saying it's going to be White, Saliba, Mosquera, Calafiori, that's a very different story to Timber. Saliba, Mosquera, Calafiori, for instance. Even just that. So I think that's a big thing there. But and also for the likes of Odegaard, the intensity isn't quite there in Europe. So for a lot of these players, maybe the intensity isn't quite the same. So it's just a different level. So I think that it sort of frees them up a bit. And then again, it's how tactically astute Sporting are. Yes, you said they're energetic. I looked at it. But they leave a high line apparently, so they can be exploited. So how tactically astute. Bayer Leverkusen were very good. But they played with 5 at the back, or they suffocated us with 5 at the back. I think Sporting Lisbon, sometimes play 5. I think recently they're playing with 4. Mm-hmm. So it depends a lot on how they approach. I think they've got a couple of injuries, but
if Saka isn't fit, is there any question about, given Madueke was only on the bench yesterday, is there any question for you whether Max Baumann starts?
No, Madueke starts. If he came on, he was Madueke. It doesn't look like there's anything wrong with him. He was running like he normally does. So no, I'll be surprised again. Max Baumann, but when was the last time Max Baumann played 90 minutes of men's football, and then 2 days later going to have to play in Europe and stuff like that? So, but who knows? I think we're all been calling this wrong from the very beginning. So I don't know. Maybe he starts every game and move over Saka. You're playing left wing. So I don't know. I'd be surprised.
Yeah.
But exactly. So we need to protect him. He's starting against Bournemouth. So there you go. Right. Right, I need to let you go and practice your swing. So thank you, Andy, for joining me today and for the good chat and lifting the mood.
Not a problem, my friend. Always a pleasure. I'm looking forward to seeing you next Saturday. Hopefully the nervy cobwebs will be blown away on Tuesday, and we can kind of skip up Holloway Road on not skip up.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, walk down Holloway Road on the way to the game on Saturday morning with a bit more confidence.
As an assignment for next time, work on your analogies. There you go.
You can tell I'm all over it. I'm just my analogies are all over the place.
The wheels are falling off. Well, they're not slightly falling off. The nuts and bolts of the wheels are sort of hard. Loose. They've been loosened. Yeah. But there we go. Right. Anyway.
Either kids.
There we go. Thank you. Look, you can follow us, and if you want more of this intelligent stuff, follow us on Threads, Blue Sky, TikTok, Insta. You can find us on Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube channel at The Grove AFC. The next pod will be post-sporting. Not exactly sure when, where, how, due to travel and availability, but we'll see. And then we'll definitely be chatting pre-Bournemouth, where we'll be crapping up pants. And there we go. And as always, if you can leave a review, a like, a comment, really appreciate it. give us a follow. Really notice it, and thank you very much for that. And thank you for listening. If you've made it this far, appreciate it, even after a defeat. The future is bright. Keep the faith, people. Stay strong. I think we need to stick together on this. And until the next time, come on, you Gunners.